Assalamualaikum and very good morning to all of you. In today's session, I think this is the toughest week because we are moving towards, just a couple of weeks to our final semester. So let us begin with the process of writing. The last week is just an introduction about how we're going to prepare the research proposal. Now let us focus on the writing aspect, which is the most critical, the most important for you to follow, listen, and make sure that you understood every single step that is required in the process of writing. So that will give you a good grades, for your final case study proposal. Now, I'm giving you example, and this is actually the example for the presentation slide, as well as the whole process of the research proposal or the case study proposal writing. And the template has been provided to you. So as and when we go along, when I explain this, you can refer to the chapter 1, 2, and 3 of the full format of the proposal or case study writing proposal. Now, the example, so you're going to have the title first. Now, for this template, I'm going to share you the topic of the case study entitled Transformational Leadership and its Relationship with Organizational Performance, the case of the ABC University. Now, ABC University is a private university, therefore it is considered one of the good case to start with. Now, there are important key presentation points. So remember, those past few weeks we have gathered about, the process of identifying the issues from the broader perspective to a specific angle. Now we're going to make sure that all elements given in chapter 1, 2, and 3, as you have seen on your screen right now, are critical for you to understand what to write, and how the process of writing would be likely to, be done. Yeah. So in the research title, the key presentation points here offer you to explain first the research title, and then these are actually the table of content. I want you to refer to the specific format given. Yeah. So in chapter 1, you're going to have all these 9 sub sections, and then chapter 2, we're going to also have 9 subsections for the literature review, and the final chapter would be on chapter 3 on methodology. We're going to have 11 subsections, right? So the title, as I said, it must reflect the issue of the study and the variable of interest. Now, the variable of interest actually explains the issue of the study. It happened to examine the relationship between these two important aspects, that is on leadership, specifically it is on transformational leadership and its relationship with organizational performance. The case, the organization of interest here is the case of ABC University. Now the issues, for the first one, you're going to begin with the chapter 1, so that explains the introduction. So the introduction sections, you take a look at how the format of writing is likely to be. Now you're going to do it double space, and then you're going to have a subsection. Now the subsection must be numbered. So in the given example template, I did not provide the number because I was in a little bit hurry to prepare this for you. But in your final case study proposal, you have to follow the chapter 1, 1.1, 1.2 up to 1.9 for all the subsections in this particular chapter. So what are there in the introduction? So you just explain what covers in chapter 1. Chapter 1 presents an introduction of this and comprises 9 main section. That introduces the background, the statement of problem, research objectives, as well as research questions. So this is followed by a separate section which describes the significance of the study, the operational definition of terms used that make ABC University, the conceptual model, as well as the limitation of the study. The final section summarizes the chapter. Now, as you move along, Yeah, to the next section, it will be on the background of the study. Just a very quick 2 paragraph or 3 paragraph is suffice enough for you to explain the overall background. Yeah, so you mentioned because you want to focus on the institutions of higher learning, right? So specifically, this is a private university, so explain about maybe 1 or 2 or 3 past literature about what is related to this, and also explain a quick on the variable of interest. Yeah, what is the issue or what are the issues? So the background begins something like this. Yeah, numerous challenges are being faced by institution of higher learning in Malaysia. So you see, they triggered you one issues here. There are challenges being faced by the university. So and then you have one reference, one past study. According to Raja Suzana 2017, the scenario of higher education since 1990s can be best characterized as ever changing with internalization and globalization being 2 topic of discussions. So she stressed that the globalization and transnationalization, yeah, of higher education are multifaceted in nature. Several university factors may have an impact on higher education in both developed and developing countries. Now, this is just to give a rough, broad overview. Yeah. So Raja Suzana to 2017 argues that the primary transition of organization from manufacturing and service-based economy to knowledge-based economic demands knowledge to replace the physical capital as the source of the present and future wealth. So as knowledge becomes more important among public and private organizations, so thus institutions of higher learning. So in institution of higher learning, there appears to be greatly increased enrollment in many countries over the past 4 decades. Yeah, noticeably, while enrollments have reached a platform or a plateau in some countries, higher education infrastructure are still catching ABC University elsewhere with the increased lead or load of students seeking access. So you see, now the background of study just give a very quick overview about the whole scenario of what happened in institution of higher learning, what appear to be the current trend. Yeah, and then you're going to specific to 1.2 that is organization and sector background. Yeah, so here now I'm framing this on the context of my research or case study title. So you're going to focus on yours. If you're going to focus on McDonald's or Pizza or Lazada or any other organization, so explain about the organization, explain a little bit more deeper, and then give the perspective about the sector background as well. Yeah. So along the line, you also slowly going to bring the 2 important elements that appear to be suitable to be discussed in this section. Yeah. So you mentioned the first paragraph about what things are required in terms of the current trend of some of the activities that give an impact to the higher education. Now the second paragraph, you see they started to bring one variable. So begin with the dependent variable. Why? Because dependent variable in this context is the organizational performance. Explain the most primary variable of interest in this study. Yeah, so you start to dig with the dependent variable first. So let us read. Higher education has also tried strategies to enhance organizational performance through the implementation of strategic planning, benchmarking, TQM, and business project process engineering. Yeah, so try to find one study that explain this connectedness. Yeah, apparently another strategy, so-called organizational learning, have also offered blah blah blah. Yeah? So organizational learning also serves as a mechanism for studying if and how organization learn. And then the third paragraph is the other variable that is independent variable. Yeah? Leaders have tremendously influence on the formation of organizational learning and values. So it explains all those factors. Yeah. So one of the angle is on the factors of transformational leadership have an augmentation effect This is according to one of the empirical study based from the work of Bass 1999. So transformational leaders inspire higher levels of trust in the leadership, the group, the task, and the organization. So they elicit a more idealistic and ethical level of thinking, and proceed with the rest of other things about the organizational background. And then you explain further about your sector background. How does that give a value and the connection within the organization and its customers, and what happened to be like of interest to you. Now, okay, next we focus on the statement of the problem. Now, the statement of the problem explain very clearly, all those highlighted in the red font explain the important variables. Yeah, so you have to come up with your suitable sentence that explain critical issues. So that is actually your major interest to explore further about the issues, and that is also the gap you have found in your literature. Yeah, so let us take a look here. How you gonna write the statement of problem? Okay, although research has uncovered important predictors of organizational performance, yet it has been absent and not has been fully explored, particularly in measuring the organizational performance in terms of meeting the quality of objectives of the academic institution. Yeah. To date, much of the empirical research on organizational performance has implicitly, if not explicitly, adapted a contemporary perspective of financial and non-financial views. In explaining the non-financial views, transformational leadership appears to have a positive and significant relationship with the organizational performance. Yeah? And then you quote several past authors that associate to this statement. Yeah? And then you have here Ong 2007, Sengay, ETAL 1999, Raja Susana 2017, and Aye 2005. And you continue with the next variable. The success that transformational leadership brings to organizational performance in the perspective of academic institution has been observed by many and has significant contribution towards organizational performance. Yeah. Next paragraph, though past scholars have offered a variety of definitions and suggestions of what constitutes transformational leadership, however, in the perspective of the ABC University, the definition remain unclear. Yeah. Further, with the move by the university, embracing globalizations, the performance of the ABC universities appear to be geared consistently with the quality objectives of the university. Consequently, in achieving this performance, ABC University would require an individual who can inspire and transform the team to achieve its extraordinary outcome. And then explain further about the gap. Yeah? For a long time, relationship between transformational leadership and organizational performance has been analyzed in the literature. So whose work? Quote and cite the authors here. Yeah? However, these are done in isolation. See, this is the gap. Yeah, these are done in isolations. Furthermore, how well transformational leadership factors are able to predict the performance of ABC University have not been fairly well researched. It is imperative also to examine which variable in the transformational leadership is the best predictor of the performance of the university, both as objective and subjective measure. Thus, this study, okay, these last two sentences appear to be important because you have to explain the variable that lead to the interest of this what you call project. Yeah. So thus, this study is an attempt to, in such endeavor, to further examine the relationship between transformational leadership and the performance of the ABC University. Okay, so chapter 1 explain. After that, after statement of problem, we explain the research questions accordingly, research objectives, and then you have research hypothesis. Yeah, so explain research hypothesis. We have an opening paragraph there, right? You can follow this nature of like explaining, but change that accordingly to your variable of interest. Yeah, so hypothesis 1. there is a positive, linear, and significant relationship between transformational leadership and the objective measures of the performance of the ABC. Number two, hypothesis two follow the same, but they are focusing on the subjective measure of the university. And hypothesis three, because they are a moderating variable, so they want to control. Yeah, so the moderating variable is the tenure. Tenure here is how long the organization have been, what do you call this, in operation. Yeah, so berapa lama apa nama tu, organisasi atau universiti ini telah beroperasi. Ya. So controlling the tenure that one holds with the organization, there is a positive, linear, and significant relationship between transformational leadership and the performance of the ABC. Okay, now let us take a look. We're gonna have deeper writing on the organizational performance. Okay, so there is a salah sikit kat sini, saya betulkan. Okay, you're gonna begin with the literature review, and then the literature review. Just explain here. First, I will share with you in a while, and then followed by your first important variable, that is dependent variable, which is organizational performance. So under organizational performance, you're going to measure two important objectives. Yeah, first, quality objective is considered as objective. Yeah, objective measure, and secondly, subjective measure. Yeah, subjective measure is more about you asking the perceptions of the perhaps academic. Yeah, and variable number two is your independent variable, that is transformational leadership. So you have four sub-dimension under transformational leadership. Yeah, so you have idealized influence, inspirational motivation, individual consideration, intellectual simulation. 2.4, you have moderating variables. 2.5 explain the model and theories, at least two association to the context of this study. And then 2.6, relationship between transformational leadership and organizational performance. Now here, perhaps you can refer to several articles mentioning about the past work of others that have been done, and how does direction works, yeah? Because from there, you are able to build a conceptual framework. And finally, you're going to have your chapter summary. Okay, so now I would like to go to chapter 2. Yeah, chapter 2, which explain on the what are the things that appear to be important to be achieved in this chapter. Yeah, because this explain the process of the literature writing. Yeah. Okay, so you're going to have a literature review chapter, that is chapter 2. So you may begin with the two important variables here, that is transformational leadership and organizational performance. Yeah. So you bring from chapter 1 the definition of transformational leadership. Yeah. Chapter 1 here you have definition, right? So you bring from chapter 1 now, because you're going to explore further in chapter 2. Chapter 2 is writing more, more in depth about this variable. Yeah, and then the second important variable is the organizational performance. Yeah, so in this context, they define organizational performance as achieving the quality objectives of the organization. So what are the quality objectives of organization? So these are the quality objectives. Yeah, so all these appear to be like important, what do you call this, aspect. Yeah, they have a CGPA of above 3. Yeah. 15% of its academic staff with PhD, they attain a ratio of 1 to 15, lecturer to full-time, meaning satu penjara ada 15 pelajar. Itu part of the quality aspect of this performance of the organization. Publish 100 refereed academic publications and produce 150 exhibited work of art. Yeah, so that explains the performance. Also, next we have after you explain these two variables, and then you move to connect to the related theory and models. Yeah. So here they touch on humanistic theory, perhaps because it connects to the leadership. Yeah, human relations model, and then specifically they also refer to the transformational leadership. Yeah, so there are some important work of several authors in the past. So bring into the discussion in your literature here, and then you found that interestingly, perhaps in this context, the author is able to look at the BAS, 1985 work. Yeah, so this dimension, formerly called charisma by Bath 1985, is central to the transformational leadership process and is considered the key important or key component of the transformational leadership. So there are four important here. Yeah, one is on the inspirational motivation. That is one of the sub-dimension, yeah, under the transformational leadership. And then they have individualized consideration. Yeah, so this one may vary, yeah, because you will find your own what you call measure, or your own sub element under this or sub dimension. Yeah, all right, so that explains four types of subsections, yeah, on the transformational leadership. Next, on organizational performance. Yeah, organizational performance, they will explain about the concept, right? And then from there, it also bring about several organizations may have different nature of how they measure the performance of the organization. Because of these case studies referring to university, therefore the organizational context of the university is purely on the issues of trying to have all this. Yeah. So these are actually the quality objectives. The quality objective explain the performance of an organization. If, like they say, the university is able to produce 30% of their full-time students graduated with 3-point CGPA, right? So that is the qualified graduates. That is the performance of that university. And then percentage of academic staff, yeah, with PhDs and professional qualification is 15%. Yeah. So if numbers of PhDs are increasing, yeah, by whatever year, so here perhaps we can change to by 2021, maybe, right? So ratio of lecturer to full-time is 1 to me by 2021. Yeah, and then ratio, yeah, of research and registered consultancy to lecturer is me by 2021. If you already passed 2020, okay, just in a couple of days. And then produce 100 ref reads, yeah, in 2021 and whatsoever. Okay, so there are 6 sub-dimensions that measuring the organizational performance. So these are all explained. If all is achievable, yeah, so that could give a good outcome to explain the levels of the organizational performance. Yeah. Next, they've also work on how do they measure the transformational leadership, because remember in the previous section they discussed about who, right? Who are there? What are elements under transformational leadership? So specifically in this particular section, you just have to explain further about several past studies, yeah, and then finally, right, you are able to what do you call this? To build the conceptual framework. Yeah. So these sections explain the proposed theoretical framework. Theoretical or conceptual, they are more or less the same. Yeah. So in general, the main theories underpinning the theoretical framework of the purpose study consists of leadership theory, yeah, humanistic theories, and several models. Yeah, so according to Sekaran 2006, a theoretical framework is a conceptual framework. Yeah, remember this? Is a conceptual framework of how one theorizes or makes logical sense of relationship among several factors that have been identified as important to their problem. Yeah. So in this here, actually they only have one component, one key component. Yeah. please correct that because I already discard the other variable. I just want to focus transformational leadership considering you are learning, yeah, at the very first stage of this research proposal. So we focus on the transformational leadership and the organizational performance. So the two important variable, transformational leadership serve as the independent variable, while organizational performance is the dependent variable. You see, so that makes up the conceptual framework to be shown this way. Yeah. So you have mentioned, label everything. Yeah. Conceptual framework on the relationship between transformational leadership and organizational performance at ABC private university. Okay. So take a look at the important variable here, that is independent variable that is solely on transformational leadership from the work of Bas and Novelio 1995. So it explained the idealized influence, inspirational motivation, individualized consideration, and intellectual simulation. So that is, or these are the four important sub-dimensions under transformational leadership. Yeah, so it is actually built on the model of transformational leadership, theory of humanistic and human relations model. And then you have another important, that is the dependent variable, which is organizational performance or ABC quality objectives. So there are two measures. One is on the objective measures and secondly on the subjective measures. Now the objective measures actually are those five, yeah, or those six, about student ratio, publications of the literature, PhD of this lecturers and so forth. Yeah? So that explains the objective measure of which the performance is being evaluated. And you have moderating variable here, that is a tenure. Ya, tenure ni jangka masa bekerja oleh setiap akademik, ya. Dia mengukur sama ada tenure ini moderate atau tak antara hubungan transformational leadership and organizational performance. Look at the arrow. Okay, don't point the end arrow of moderating variable towards the tenure. It doesn't make sense. You have to make sure that it is pointing, yeah, the end arrow is pointing to the relationship between these two variables. So that explains it is acting as a moderator. Next, we go to the chapter 3. Oh, sorry. Before we go to chapter 3, after explaining the important variables in the conceptual framework, okay, you have to explain the hypothesis development. You have to develop the hypothesis because that helps to explain what you want to further study. Yeah. So here you mentioned a bit about the process of developing the hypothesis. Yeah. How you do it, that is all about you have done the literature review and also explore the theoretical background. So what happened? Yeah, so the literature review and the theoretical background reveal that there appears to be a relationship between transformational leadership and organizational performance. However, it is apparent that the integrated relationship between these variables have not been empirically investigated. Hence, this study proposes to test and empirically examine the relationship between or among these variables. Yeah. And then explain. The study examines the relationship between transformational leadership style on the performance of the university. The proposed conceptualization is shown in figure 2.1. So that is actually referring to this figure. Yeah, figure 2.1. So based on the literature discussed in this chapter, the hypothesis of this can be summarized in the following manner. Yeah, hypothesis 1, there is positive, yeah, and linear and significant relationship. Now, hypothesis 1, I want you to, to subtract it this way, yeah. Okay. First hypothesis, there is a positive linear significant relationship between transformational leadership and the performance of the ABC University. Yeah? And then hypothesis 2, there is positive linear and significant relationship between the transformational leadership and the subjective measure of the performance. Yeah? And then hypothesis 3, controlling. So this is actually another way of how you're going to rephrase or going to write the moderating variable. Yeah? Controlling for the tenure, maknanya you would try to control the tenure one holds with the organization. There is a positive, linear and significant relationship between transformational leadership and the performance of the university. So that is actually explain the writing of the chapter 2, and it's end up with this chapter summary. Now, the research framework, which also serves as the conceptual framework of this study that illustrate the relationship between transformational leadership and the performance, has been described. Yeah? The researcher also elaborates the variable involved in this study by providing the dimensions, elements, and definitions of transformational leadership and organizational performance. Next, we go to chapter 3. So in this chapter, right, they contains about 12. You take a look, yeah, or 12 or 9 or 11, take a look on the subsection. So correct this if I did it wrong, so you have to do it right. Okay, so what does it going to start with? Beginning with the introduction, followed by the research design in the second section. The third section begins with the sampling frame. This is followed by the fourth section, which discusses the population and the sampling technique in the fifth section. The sample size and the unit of analysis are included in the 6 and 7 sections respectively. Section 8 and 9 describe the instrument as well as the reliability and validity of the instrument used in this study. Section 10 is devoted solely on data collection procedures, and the plan for data analysis is described in section 11. Finally, section 12 provides a summary of the chapter. Right? So you, once you begin with all this intro, then you focus or try to connect between chapter 2 to chapter 3. Yeah? So bring the objective of this study, that is to determine the relationship between transformational leadership and performance of the ABC University. Yeah. Okay, research design. The purpose of this study is to provide a greater understanding in how transformational leadership have a relationship with organizational performance. So the present study is designed across sectional survey of ABC University as its population. So it will be descriptive correlational, yeah, in that it determine or it seeks to determine the relationship between the two variables here. Yeah. So sampling frame is a list of academic. Yeah. Sampling frame, remember, it must contain a list of where you refer to, where you get to. So a list of the academic or lecturers of ABC University for 2021 will be obtained from the where you get it from. Yeah. So here, the administration department of ABC University, and serves as a sampling frame for this study. So mention who are these people, yeah, who are the subject, who are they? The lecturers are from the department of various faculties, and explain those. Population. The population of interest for this study will be all academic staff. Remember, when you have population, it involves the whole of those in that entire population. So you have to explain, use the word all here. Yeah, and again, bring where they reside, which faculty are they from. Sampling technique. All the program centers, yeah, they only have 28 program, and all lecturers, they only have 382. So they will take all of them. So in this case, they did not do the sampling technique, but somehow or other you can do it. If you want to focus on sampling strategy, for example, right? Perhaps you can design following the books or my previous class, in chapter, refer to that if you want to focus on probability sampling strategy with the stratified sampling technique. Perhaps you can break the lecturers into the category of, professors, associate professors, yeah, senior lecturers and lecturers. So there are 4. But in this context, this research is a small group, so they will take all of them. It will become their subject of interest or the responses, yeah, to be collected later. Now, sample size. Since all program coordinators and all lecturers will be selected, they will constitute 100% of the population. Yeah, so they do not make any specific, because they are doing the case study, right? So they can take a look at the possibility of grouping all of them. Unit of analysis. The unit of analysis will be the organization. Now, as simple as you take a look at the dependent variable. If the dependent variable is trying to measure the performance, therefore your unit of analysis must be organization. Yeah? So they must be representative from that organization, right? Because organization cannot talk, right? It consists of human body knowledge. So they must be representative. So explain that. Representatives of the BC University would be all program or center coordinators and its academic staff. Next, you go to instrument. The research instrument that will be used for this study is the questionnaire. Yeah, for this study, the researcher will use 4 instruments. The first instrument is the multi-factor leadership questionnaire, developed by Bass and Arvolio, which consists of MLQ. Yeah, MLQ is the multi-factor leadership questionnaire. So explain further about this questionnaire. So in your context, perhaps I have shared with you some of the sample of measurement. Yeah, remember those days or those weeks when I discussed, you can refer to organizational performance that measure ROI, customer or market orientation, passion for investing, passion for whatsoever. Yeah, so there are some too. So you bring that measure here. So what has been discussed, yeah, take a look on what also been shared in that literature of measurement. Yeah, so here a 7-point Likert scale is used. Yeah, ranging from strongly agree, disagree 1 to strongly agree 7. Yeah. So the form or the instrument will be self-administered. So meaning you as researcher or myself as researcher, I'm going to personally send and meet these program coordinators and pass the questionnaire. Yeah. So the third instrument, that is Appendix C. Now inside the instrument there are section, right? So we just have to like break this into example. Yeah. So the third instrument is no, Appendix C. Here explain you have to like give appendix at the end of your research or case study proposal, because we need to see, yeah, what reference have you been referred to, yeah, and instrument measuring the performance. So it has been developed from the work of Raja Susana 2004 on internal performance measure. And then finally the fourth instrument, Appendix D, is all about demography. Yeah, it's all about information on the respondent profile. So here the profile will ask respondent to express who are they, yeah, what are their gender, race, yeah, highest academic qualification, the tenure in organisation, yeah, maknanya berapa lama dah dia bekerja dalam organisasi ini, tenure in job, berapa lamakah dia berada di alam pekerjaan, ya, mungkin dia berpindah-pindah from one university to another. So this is explain tenure in job, yeah, tenure in organisation specifically with this ABC organisation, and then where are they attached to, their current department and other contact information, yeah, right. So these explain the dimension and variables or sources. Yeah, so they have 3 sections. Yeah, transformational leadership is actually being measured by these 4 elements or sub-dimension. Yeah, and then they have organizational performance. Actually, they also have 2, right? So that is on the objective measure. Yeah, so that is based on the quality objective of the university, quality objective. Objective set by the ABC University. And secondly, the subjective measures. Okay. So here, if you are to develop your own measures, you can, the researcher, meaning yourself or your group. If you have many, then you have more than one, yeah, put the researchers. And also you're referring to the work of other people, perhaps you can bring them here. Profile of the respondent is actually yours, okay, the researchers, 2000 or 2021. So count all these number of items, yeah, so it gives you an overall indicator about things that appear to be like important. Yeah, perhaps here is if they have 6, meaning down here they have 6, so it's altogether 12. Okay, all right. All statements in the questionnaire will be written in English, although 3 instruments selected for this study appear to have shown a substantive constructive validity and reliability. However, they have yet to be tested in a Malaysian organizational context. So meaning to say, they are referring to this instrument which belongs to the authors who have done the research but not in our country. Yeah, so it has to be tested in our Malaysia. So in that context, the process of validity and reliability needs to be conducted. Yeah, so they have to do pilot testing. Yeah? Okay, the response scale. Now, in original questionnaire, they use the 5-point. Yeah, so the first instrument were placed on the 5-point Likert scale, while the second and part of the third instrument will be using 7 Likert scale. Basically, it's good if you can just use all 5 Likert scale. Yeah. So after reviewing the recommendation from the expert panel, all the scales instrument have been standardized for 5-point Likert scale. Now, reliability and validity we have mentioned, right? We want to seek on the assurance that our questionnaire is good. So we have to prove, the process of how we make the reliability and validity, happen, right? So here, perhaps just to recap, you can define the reliability. It is the extent to which a measure is without bias. Yeah? It's also an indication of the reliability of the measures. Therefore, consistent measurement across time and across the various items in the instrument is ensured. Yeah. So the stability and consistency, right, help to assess the goodness of the measure that indicate the reliability of a measure. So here the reliability will be tested using the Cronbach alpha, yeah, according to Nunali 1979, and also to look at the validity side, yeah, how actually it measures what it's supposed to measure, right? So in checking the validity of the questionnaire, the supervisor is very thorough, was consulted apart from the subject matter below. So meaning myself, I'm your supervisor for this. I'm going to take a look at your instrument. Perhaps back and forth between these 2 weeks, you can show me, go and take a look at the literature and find out. So other than myself, there would be other experts who can become, the subject matter expert, yeah, and take a look on the questionnaire. And then the pilot testing, no, you don't have to do pilot testing, right? But in your report, I want you to do this because the moment you start doing your PPTA one, right, you have to do pilot testing. So this is just, write this in your proposal so that next year when you come up with the real process going to the field, then this need to be done, so you are prepared. Yeah. So for the pilot test, 25 questionnaire were distributed randomly to the coordinators and the lecturer. So if you are having these 25 individuals take part in your pilot testing, these people cannot participate in your final survey. Yeah, because they knew already about the activity. So once you're back from the collecting the pilot test, then you're gonna run the reliability tests. So if the reliability test appear to have like anything above 7, yeah, so you have here all above 7, right? 0.9, 0.9, 0.89, yeah. So that explains good part of indicator that it is a, what do we call, reliable instrument. Okay. So from the above table, the dimensions with the most number of items showed the highest combat alpha of 0.9 and 0.89 as a rule of thumb, right? George and Mallory, 2001, interpret convex alpha as follows. This is the rule of thumb. Yeah. So if anything below 7, meaning you have 0.69, for example, is questionable, right? So in this process, you got 0.8, 0.9. So thus the researcher can conclude that the instrument is reliable. Okay, the last two sections is explaining how you're going to collect the data. Yeah. So prior to distributing the questionnaire to the respondent, 3 forms of communication will be used. Okay, apakah bentuk komunikasi itu? Yeah, yang pertama, you're going to have a presentation meaning you're going to present to me, for example, yeah, or to the program coordinator meetings. Then you mentioned that the purpose of the study is like to look for whatever issues, yeah, and then you send a letter to the academic staff, yeah. So the letter will be from the campus director to those selected for participation in the study. Now, this process is really you can determine on your own. You just have to explain to us, yeah, how you're gonna do the process of data collection. Yeah, explain step by step. Yeah, so you have a letter, for example. Remember last 2 weeks I mentioned about the cover letter to be prepared along before the questionnaire, right? So that help to explain about what the research all about. And the final one, plan for data analysis. The data collected will be computed and analyzed using the statistical package for social science, the SPSS. Now we're going to learn next week on the SPSS, right? So there are 2 stages of how the data is to be analyzed here. Yeah. So the initial stage of analysis involves conducting an exploratory data analysis, yeah, to examine the data before any specific statistical procedures are used to analyze them. Right. So from here, we are able to identify the raw score, average score, and relative scores for each of the skills. And then the subsequent analysis would take a look on the descriptive analysis, that is to explain on the mean, the standard deviation, the skewness across all observation. Yeah. And then we have to also come up with the combat alpha just to verify internal consistency. Yeah. And then the second stage will really run the descriptive statistic and multiple regression to measure, yeah, the contributions of each predictors, yeah, of transformational leadership on ABC universities. So we're going to learn regression analysis. So these are a set of statistical techniques which allow one to assess the relationship between one or many dependent variables or several independent variables. So you take a look. When we mention here, this section, one or many dependent variable or several independent. You see, several independent variable actually under the transformational leadership, there are 4 category, right? Okay. You see, okay, here, you see, there are 4, right? Individualized, you see 4 sub-dimension of transformational leadership. Under organization performance, there are 2. So here considered as having many sub-dimension. So that explains many dependent variables, yeah, and independent variables. So this is actually the most commonly used procedures to see if we can attribute the relationship of 2 variables to a third variable or variables, right? So the specific methods to be used in analyzing the various objectives of the study will be detailed in the following section. Yeah, for example, okay, research objective 1. You want to determine the current level of transformational leadership and performance, right? So here the descriptive analysis will be utilized. to describe the characteristic of the data through the mean score, median, standard deviation, variance, range, and percentile. So the distribution of score will describe by which measures of central tendency, yeah, the mean and median, and also measures of variability. There is a range, standard deviation, variable quartile split, and whatnot, right? And then the frequency distribution will then be calculated. Okay. All right. So that explain further about how you're gonna do the process. And then the multiple regression is also another analysis. Yeah. It is extension of bivariate regression, because if we say bivariate, they only have two variable. Yeah. So in this case, we have several independent variables and also dependent variables. So multiple regression is the most suitable analysis to be used in this study. Yeah, so you just explain this. I mean, these are good for you to put in your proposal, because later on when we come out next week learning on the SPSS, I will further explain you on how each of these analysis take place, so that you will make yourself understood. Now, if you are to write this in your research or case study proposal, then it will help you to further understand what all these model fit all about. Yeah, adjusted R square, the modified value of R square. Yeah, how does that explain based on the process of our analysis? Okay, so here, okay, this is the critical part. You have to put this plan for data analysis, because this will explain to us how you measure and preparation for the analysis of the data. Okay, based on research objectives, take a look at the first column. Yeah, the first column explain on the objective of the study. Right, you just bring all the objectives here. Right, your first objective is to examine whether transformational leadership is able to predict the performance, right? So dalam research objective ni apa variable yang involved? Sorry. The variable will be explained. Transformational is an independent variable, right? So how it is evaluated, how it is measured, yeah? Independent variables evaluated in terms of its predictive power and to see how much variance in dependent variable they are able to explain. Maknanya, dalam performance of the universiti ni bukannya leadership saja, betul tak? Kalau dalam prestasi sesebuah organisasi bukannya faktor-faktor kepimpinan saja, mesti ada faktor lain kan? Faktor jualan, faktor work culture, faktor environment, faktor pasaran luar, betul tak? Tapi in this kita cuma nak menunjukkan dalam dapatan analisis kita berapa banyakkah yang akan menerangkan performance ini. So kita nak tahu sejauh manakah transformational leadership ini dapat menerangkan kejayaan prestasi organisasi. Yeah. So the measurement here in this section is on predicting variable of transformational leadership, explain scores of variance in organizational performance. Maksud je, the measurement ini, ya, pengukuran yang you dah buat ni, berdasarkan item-item yang telah dibangunkan itu, berapa banyakkah dia menerangkan kejayaan untuk mencapai prestasi organisasi yang bagus. Ya. So dia akan diukur dalam bentuk interval. Interval is actually Likert 1 to 5, and statistik yang akan digunakan adalah multiple linear regression, ya, MLR, multiple linear regression, that is multiple regression lah. And yang kedua, research objective yang kedua adalah to examine which is the best predictor of the performance of the organisation. So remember inside transformational leadership ada 4 kan, ada 4 variable kan. So dia nak tengok berapa banyak, variable manakah yang explain paling banyak. Yeah? So the predictor of independent variables evaluated in terms of its predictive power. Yeah. So the rest of others follows ni lah. The last one is on actually moderating variable. Yeah. So examine if controlling for the tenure of individual, do transformational leadership still able to predict a significant amount? kita cuma nak pastikan adakah dengan kehadiran tenure ini, maknanya semakin lama seseorang akademik itu bekerja, adakah dia merupakan pemboleh ubah moderator yang bagus dalam hubungan antara tahap kepimpinan dan juga prestasi organisasi. So here we have to do hierarchical multiple regression. Okay, so class, so that explain all the process of you to write the research proposal. Yeah, so this template has been provided to you. Your job is just to make sure that it has been like executed and read every chapter. Take a look at the template, the example on how to write for each of the section, and then be clear. I don't want any missing subsection. Like for example, chapter 3 you have all the 11 subsection. Yeah, chapter 2 you have 9 subsections. So make sure because every single section there is a mark carries along with it. Yeah? So don't miss any of those. Yeah. Okay. So that's I think my coverage for today. Quality content is king. Yeah, so together we can make our content shine. So I have provided you with all the explanation, example of the template. Just move forward on your writing. Yeah, so make sure that you will also be prepared about your final presentation, because once everything is done, remember you are to come up with the video. When you do the presentation, it's going to be a pre-recorded version. So the pre-recorded version must consist of like this example presentation of the PowerPoint. Yeah, I have given you an example before. Take a look and then record it. And when you do the case study, I want to have a section where you do the video recording of that organization. So that explain the organization is doing what, yeah, which sectors are the organization involved in, and then what are the key issues that you are actually focusing, so that it relates to the purpose of you writing this case study proposal. Okay, so you can rewind this video lecture again and again to understand how the process works. And thank you very much for listening. Have a good day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.